Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is I'm answering a comment on, today's mission is actually business. My wife and I, Jamie, made a video yesterday, what's the hardest part of owning a restaurant? Had some great comments on there. I've not been on YouTube in almost a month, I feel like. Just been so busy at my restaurant working because I'm dealing with the hardest part of my restaurant, which is employees. I haven't had enough employees, so I've been working an extreme amount. There's been days that I've been working 19 hours here. I literally go home for 5 hours and come right back. I'm past that point now because my staff is in place, and I really got a kick butt staff that's in training right now, and of course kicking butt. So this book right here, 50 Mistakes Business Owners Make.com, I wrote that last year. It came out end of 2016, beginning of 2017. Lots of cool stuff in here, 50 mistakes that I've made, that I've corrected, and we're going to talk about menu pricing today. So here is a comment from yesterday's video from Andrew. So I heard you mention 30% for food costs. Is that possible? Is it possible to break that down some more? Is that 30% considering when pricing on the menu? Thinking about opening a place, that would be appreciate the info. Okay, so let's talk specifically about how to price food or items or bar items for your restaurant. So there's something that's called food cost and labor cost in restaurants. It's also called prime cost when you combine the two together. Now, if you want to run a profitable restaurant, generally speaking, you need to have a 65% or less prime cost, which means for every dollar going into the register, 65 cents or less goes to food and labor. Okay, in culinary school, we were taught 33% for labor, 33% for food, which brings it to 66%. The other 34% is to pay everything else off, and hopefully you can put 5% as profit in your pocket. That's the general rule. But now steakhouses, for example, have an extremely high food cost of 45, even 50%. You have to think about it, and they're extremely profitable steakhouses. But here's what's happening. When you're buying a $70, $80 steak, that steak, there's maybe $30 worth of product on that plate. So they're already running a higher food cost, but a higher price. So now here's how this works. A place like me who charges 26 bucks for my steak and a steakhouse that charges 65 bucks, they're putting into the register profit 26 bucks after the food costs, right? So they're putting more into the bank than I'm charging for my entree. So it's a whole different scaling when you do that. When you buy a bottle of wine that's $400 as opposed to a bottle of wine that's $30 at a restaurant, that restaurateur is making a ton more money than a $200 bottle, but it's a 50% food cost because maybe he only marked it up twice, food cost, liquor cost. On that $30 bottle, he could have marked it up 5 times, 4 times. So he has a better ratio on that small bottle, but the big bottle has more excess money to stick into the bank to pay bills. So don't get always caught up on, I need a low food cost, I need a low food cost. No, you need a profitable business. So let's talk about prime cost. Prime cost, 65% or less to be a profitable restaurant. Okay, if you're doing 55%, you're knocking it out of the park. I have some friends that are doing under 50%. Under 50% for labor and food combined. Now, you can have a high labor cost and a low food cost. You can have a high food cost and a low labor cost. It's all a balancing act. So if you're a restaurant that makes a lot of your own food and you're not buying convenience foods, then you're gonna have a higher labor cost, lower food cost, because you're buying raw materials, okay? Are you making the brisket yourself, or are you buying the brisket already cooked and smoked and already done? Believe it or not, you can do that. US Foods, I found out that it has a beer smoked brisket that's sliced ready to go. It's a super pricey item, but you don't need somebody doing labor to do that. We smoke our brisket here. It's an 18-hour smoked brisket. Somebody has to go out and make sure the smoker's on and we're firing wood in there and make sure it's maintaining temp for literally 18 hours. That's labor, right? But when you look at the portion cost, it's a very low portion cost based upon the price. But you have to factor all the labor in it. Then you have to trim it. Then you have to cryovac it, and there's a whole process of doing that. It's not like I'm buying a piece of fish or a piece of tofu or something, or pasta, and just saying I'm grabbing it out of the box and serving it. There's no labor in that. Now when it comes to the bar, you have a lot less labor in the bar. In the bar, you open a bottle of wine, you pour a glass. They're not making the wine. You pour a beer out of the taps. There's a less labor cost to do that. So you can run a different cost of goods, COGS, cost of goods, when you're talking about the bar. But now, I never tell anybody to really get focused, and I talk about it in the book here in 50 Mistakes. I never want you to really focus on, I've got to have the best food costs, and I got to have the best. No, it's the total prime cost that you're looking at. And when you get chefs in a room, sometimes they start bragging about, oh, my food cost is this, my food cost is that, it's 22%, 22% is a great food cost. But if your labor's 42%, you're at 64%, and you're at that threshold of profitability, right? So you can buy all the unprocessed food you want, but your labor's through the roof, right? So that's how it works. Now, when you open a restaurant, there are so many unforeseen costs that it's ridiculous. For example, there's so many costs that you're not even going to think of. You want to buy soda? To soda on the gun, to get the equipment, to get all the boxes, to line it up, you could spend $1,000 just to be able to pour soda. That's a $2 item, right? $1, $2, $3 item. But these are things that unexperienced operators don't think about, right? And you call the soda company, and you're like, okay, I'm a new restaurant, I have no credit. Can I charge $1,000 worth of soda? Chances are they're going to say, well, we need half down to come in and install the equipment. And this throws people for a loop. So here's my suggestion. You figure out what you need as far as to open a restaurant. 100,000, 150, and you're going to want to times that. Industry says you're going to want to times that by 3 to 5, okay? You never have enough money. At minimum, you want to times that by 2. Because once you open, people think once you open from day one that you're going to make money from day one. People think that they're going to open their restaurant and make money, make profit from day one. You really are not going to turn the corner, and I tell restaurant operators this, you're not going to turn the corner until a year into it sometimes. And you're really not going to be like, in my restaurant, we've been here 14 years. It took me 10 years to be able to say, I got money to buy all new kitchen equipment. I got money to do this. Yeah, sure, we bought an air conditioner here and there because we had to. But now I'm buying things because I have the luxury of buying things. I'm saying, okay, this piece of equipment's getting a little old. It still works. It's still fine. If I didn't have the money, I'd keep this. But I'm at a point now where I'm saying, wow, I could buy a better oven and have better output and better production and make more money by spending money. And that's a great feeling to be at the restaurant right now. But it took a while. People think right away that that's going to happen. So let's sort of reverse this and go back to costing food. Okay, so we talked about a total food cost or total prime cost of 65%. So you kind of want to, when you price foods out, a lot of people get stuck with, I got to triple or quadruple. And realistically, you do have to quadruple a lot of things. So if something costs you $5 on the plate, you should be getting $20 for it. But now, here's the scenario. If you have a lobster that costs you 10, you're not going to get $40 for the lobster, and a chicken breast is costing you $2. You're not going to get $8 for the chicken and $40 for the lobster. So you have to be able to now meet at a median price point all of your items. So you kind of have to figure out what your theme is, what you're going for, what you're actually offering to people when they walk in and say, hey, this is a good value or this is a good price. Now, here's a general rule. If people aren't telling you that your food is too expensive, this is super important. You're always going to have people telling you, oh, not always, but you might have people telling you, oh, your food's too expensive. Don't worry about that. There should be a very small percentage of people telling you. If nobody's telling you that your food's too expensive, you should be charging more. That's the bottom line. Because you're always going to have people that say, oh, or not always, but you're going to have people that say, oh, that's a little too much for that, a little too much, a little pricey. And I have people that say that, and that's perfectly fine, because I know that my pricing is good at that point. But again, if nobody's telling you that your pricing is too high, you're not charging enough. And you can bump things up. So, for example, soup. We charge $7.25 for soup. Some restaurants charge $4 for soup. Soup is where you're going to make a lot of money, right? That's that thing that's going to have a major gap. But that lobster that we're selling for $22, there's not much profit in that lobster. So you want somebody to buy the lobster and the soup, because both those items together are a powerhouse, right? It's like dessert. They just had a steak entree that you're not making much profit on. They're going to have dessert now. So the combination of how you combine foods and sell foods on the menu, that's where you make your money. So don't get caught up and say, every single thing here I have to quadruple. Now, realistically, if you're running a 25% food cost, technically everything you've sold, you've had to quadruple, okay? So that's, but it's a whole mix. Now, to accurately really understand what's going on in your menu, you need to print sales mixes. A sales mix is where, at the end of the month, you go on your POS, in the computer and POS, and the point of sale system, and you print everything you've sold for that month. And you kind of see, okay, I sold 300 of this burger, 200 of this burger, 150 of this style of burger, or 300 strip steaks, and 300 salmons, and 25 chickens. You're like, oh, something's wrong with that chicken dish. Only 25 and all my other entrees are at 300. I do this for Mother's Day brunch a lot. I do it for Easter brunch. I want to know what my mix is afterwards. And after each brunch, they're all within the same percentage. 15 of this, 15 of that, 15 of that, 15 of that, 15, which means I have a menu that's well thought out, and people are choosing everything across the board. There's nothing that's a loss. There's no dogs on the menu, right? You don't want to avoid a dog. Even though you like the dish, you want to avoid it. So you run these sales mixes and you say, okay, what's the low man on the totem pole? How can we either get that sales up on that or ditch the dish altogether? And so I do one of two things. Either ditch the dish, come up with a new dish, or I lower the price of that, okay? I lower the price because then I want to see if there's a problem with the price perception on that dish. Super important. Now, if my best-selling dish is selling like crazy, I might up that $1, because if people are buying 300 of this dish and they're only buying 100 or 50 of these other dishes, they're probably willing to pay $1 more for that dish. So here is the worst scenario you could ever do on how you price your menu, and a lot of restaurants do this. I say, why are you charging $10 for your burger? And they say, because the guy down the street's charging $10.50. I'm like, really? So when you start competing on price, you've lost the game. You never want to compete on price. You never want to be the cheapest. You never want to compete on price. You want to run your restaurant like there's a lot of other reasons why people are walking in your door than just buying cheap food, okay? When you price out your menu, folks, you have to include your marketing in there as well. So we do a bunch of promotions where we do free birthday offers, or we do award certificates where people spend $200, we send them a $10 gift card in the mail, or they get a $15, $18, or $12 off offer gift card for their birthday. But that's all figured out in my pricing because I know I'm going to give away the food. So I've got to figure it out in the beginning when I price the stuff. Hey, I have to account for my giveaways. And that's super important. A lot of people don't do that. They just figure it out then. So when I run my food costs, I subtract out those giveaways and say, hey, I've already accounted for you because I'm now it's part of the equation. Marketing, Facebook ads, print ads, however way you want to advertise, you have to charge that extra $1 in your food so you can afford to advertise to get people in your door. The one thing I stress in this book right here, 50 Mistakes Business Owners Make, the biggest thing I stress, one of the biggest things, so many things I stress in there. I'm a marketer. I might be a professionally trained chef. I might run a restaurant. People know me as Marcus from Aromatime. My number one job every day is to walk in this door and market my restaurant. So if I'm not marketing my restaurant, somebody else is marketing their restaurant to my guests, and I could lose business. So a lot of chefs, and this is old school mentality. I don't need to advertise. I don't need to market. The people come in my door because this, and this. You know what? Everybody I've heard it say that in the past that brags about how they don't market, a lot of those people are out of business. They have no restaurant. They don't have it anymore. And it's even the case around here with places within the 30-mile radius that people have bragged to me about. When I first opened 14 years ago, so I would ask questions. Hey, how do you advertise? When I asked 10 years ago, hey, what do you do for print ads? This, that. Oh, I don't advertise. Closed, shut down, nada, gone. You have to figure out in your menu pricing, I need a few extra bucks to advertise to get people back in the door. I need to charge an extra buck because I know I'm going to give away 300 birthday offers this month or 200 offers this month, okay? Meantime, people don't do that. Go to the book, go to 50mistakes.com. You'll see that birthday offers are the #1 promotion for restaurants. If you're a restaurateur and you're not doing something for somebody's birthday, you're missing out big time. All right, I can go on and on. I don't want to make this video a little shorter, but business is a passionate topic of mine, along with health and some other things. So yeah, any questions, comments, leave them below, and I will try to answer them.